Good afternoon everyone. Myself Dr. Meenakshi Meena, reader in the Department of Periodontology, and today's topic is chronic periodontitis. Now chronic periodontitis is a condition which lasts for long, like after gingivitis comes periodontitis. So that is disease of gums which has been there since a long duration. So this particular chronic periodontitis can be classified on the basis of extent and severity of the disease. Extent, according to extent, we call it localized when less than equal to 30% of sites are affected. It is called generalized when more than 30% of sites are involved. On the basis of severity, it can be categorized on the basis of clinical attachment level, or it is called slight when 1 to 2 millimeter of clinical attachment loss is there, moderate when 3 to 4 mm of clinical attachment loss is there, and severe when more than 5 mm of loss is there. Now clinical features of CGP are: destruction is consistent with presence of local factors. Unlike the aggressive periodontitis where local factors are not present but destruction is severe. So in case of chronic, the destruction is interrelated with the amount of local factors. Then gingival inflammation is seen, periodontal pockets are there, loss of periodontal attachment is there, and alveolar bone loss, mobility is there, and slow to moderate rate of progression is there, unlike aggressive periodontitis. In patients with poor oral hygiene, gingiva typically may be slightly to moderately swollen. So these are the clinical features, and it may exhibit alterations in color ranging from pale red to magenta. Loss of gingival stippling and changes in surface topography may include blunted and rolled margins and flattened or cratered papillae. Like in healthy gingiva, you see that there is stippling is present, but in case of periodontitis, there will be loss of stippling, and knife edge margins won't be there. They will be blunt and rolled. And in patients with regular home care measure, changes associated with gingival inflammation may not be visible. Inflammation may be detected only as bleeding of gingiva in response to examination of periodontal pocket with probe. In some cases, probably a result of long-standing low-grade inflammation, thickened fibrotic marginal tissues may obscure underlying inflammatory changes, so you may not be able to appreciate them. Then pocket depths are variable, and both horizontal and vertical bone loss can be found. Then this is a picture showing gingival inflammation associated with chronic periodontitis. See the interdental papilla are round, they are not knife edged, they are blunt, and rolled margins are there, and inflammation is there both in marginal and attached gingiva. Then recessions are there, and in posterior furcation involvements are there. So these are clinical features of periodontitis. Now coming to diagnosis, clinically it is detected by inflammatory changes in marginal gingiva, presence of periodontal pockets, and loss of clinical attachment. As you can appreciate in this picture, that there is increased amount of calculus and plaque deposition, and this is loss of clinical attachment. After clinically, we examine the patient radiographically. So you will come across bone loss which may be vertical or horizontal. This is your horizontal bone loss is there, and this is your angular bone loss, and this is your furcation defect. So usually we come across these kind of bone losses in case of chronic periodontitis. Now the progression of disease. As it is a slowly, this disease progresses slowly, and there are episodic bursts of this disease. It does not progress at an equal rate in all affected sites throughout the mouth. Some involved areas may remain static for long periods, whereas others may progress rapidly. More rapidly occurring lesions may occur mostly in interproximal areas and may be associated with areas of greater plaque accumulation and inaccessibility to plaque control measures. Now, onset of chronic periodontitis can occur at any time, and first sign may be detected during adolescence in presence of plaque and calculus accumulation. Because of slow rate of progression, chronic periodontitis usually becomes clinically significant in mid-30s or later. Now, various models proposed for disease progression are continuous model, random model or episodic burst model, and asynchronous multiple burst model. Coming to continuous model, this particular model suggests that disease progression is slow and continuous, with affected sites showing a constantly progressive rate of destruction throughout the duration of the disease. Whereas in random model, according to this, disease progresses by short bursts of destruction followed by periods of no destruction. This pattern is random with respect to tooth sites affected and chronology of disease process. Coming to multiple burst model, periodontal destruction occurs around affected teeth during defined periods of life, and that these bursts of activity are interspersed with periods of inactivity or remission. Chronology is asynchronous for individual teeth or group of teeth. So these are the various models. Now, risk factors for chronic periodontitis are the local factors, systemic factors, environmental and behavioral factors, then genetic factors. Coming to local factors, plaque accumulation on tooth and gingival surface at dentogingival junction is considered primary initiating agent in etiology of chronic periodontitis. Attachment and bone loss associated with increase in gram-negative organisms in subgingival plaque with specific increase in organism known to be exceptionally pathogenic and virulent. Then red complex organisms are frequently associated with ongoing attachment and bone loss. Then coming to systemic factors, rate of disease progression increases in patients who have systemic disease which influence the effectiveness of host response, especially diabetes, which is the sixth complication. In diabetes, the chronic periodontitis is the sixth complication. It is the synergistic effect of plaque accumulation and modulation of an effective host response through diabetes can lead to severe and extensive periodontal destruction that can be difficult to manage without controlling systemic conditions. So, there is a bidirectional relationship between diabetes and chronic generalized periodontitis. Now, after systemic factors comes environmental factors like emotional stress. Emotional stress has previously been associated with necrotizing ulcerative periodontitis, perhaps because of effects of stress on the immune function. So there are changes in the cortisol level in stress, so there is a correlation. Increasing evidence suggests that emotional stress may also influence extent and severity of chronic periodontitis. Coming to genetic factors, periodontal destruction is seen among family members and across different generations within family, suggesting the genetic basis for susceptibility of periodontal disease. Recent data indicate that genetic variation or polymorphism in genes encoding interleukin 1 alpha and interleukin 1 beta is associated with increased susceptibility to more aggressive form. Combined effect of the interleukin genotype and smoking increase the risk of tooth loss by 7.7 times. Thank you everyone.